Today's episode is a tour of two breweries, Absolution and Scholb, and a post-mortem on two others, the Strand and the Dudes. PCC TV. Today's episode, Torrance's Micro, Part 3, Central Torrance. Torrance has a longish history of microbreweries. If you missed it, go back and see Part 1 to understand the history of microbrewing, why Torrance over-indexes on microbreweries, and a tour of the 3 key gastropubs in the area. Or watch Video 2, featuring Monkish, Smog City, and Hermosa Beach. Today we venture out in another industrial area of Torrance, where we find a pair of microbreweries in the same industrial park. Opening in 2014, Absolution Brewing was the brainchild of Steve Ferguson and Nigel Heath. Of course, with a name like Nigel's from England. And with their first head brewer, Wes McCann. Oh, speaking of England, on a quasi-related note, if you want to learn what beer James Bond drank, as well as what copious amounts of other alcohol he consumed, feel free to watch my Bonds, Booze, and Books series, where I document just what Ian Fleming has Bond drink.
And we're back!
But it was San Pedro native Ferguson who, according to the Daily Breeze, is a practicing Catholic, for whatever that's worth. He came up with the name Absolution. I guess he forgives your sins for drinking. Well, business must have been good, because just 2 years after opening, they expanded the number of fermenters and tanks. And they also welcomed a new brewer, Bart Bullington, as the initial brewer, Wes McCann, went back east to brew when his wife was reassigned to the Navy. They also survived the Vid, which was the death of a few other local breweries, although it does appear that business is off. Their product is self-described as an ideal fusion of old world styles and new world ingredients. And their websites indicate that they won 2 gold medals at the San Diego International. The interior is very, very brewery stark, but I love their merch. They typically have a food truck parked outside. It is loud inside, and it is darkish. And what is their specialty? IPAs. Not typical. But they do have a good selection of other styles and offer hard seltzers for the young'uns out there. And that's Absolution.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel.
Not shots, but Scholb. Scholb? Schlob. Schlob. I can't even say it. Well, just a few steps away from Absolution is Scholb, which opened in 2016. Now, Scholb consisted of Wisconsin natives Patrick Schultz, the head brewer, and his wife Mandy, and Southern California natives Allison Kolb and COO and her husband Jason. So, time for history. The Kolbs befriended the Schultzes shortly after they moved to South Bay, and the young couples bonded over parenthood and Patrick's home brew. Friendship turned into a business relationship with the brewery's name, reminiscent of familiar Wisconsin breweries, Schlitz and Blotz and Schatz, and created a mashup from the 2 couples' surnames, hence Scholb. And I probably said that wrong. In a nod to Schultz's Midwestern roots, the means of a more malt presence than often seen in West Coast IPAs was developed. Now, on a funny side note, Patrick is a professor of music theory. College and booze, a classic combo. But when I visited, I chatted to Jason, who's a chemical engineer, and has taken over brewing when Patrick left. It's a large area. They have a game room, a large, friendly outside seating area, with a super spacious interior area with plenty of seating. A climbing wall that, alas, is only for the staff. Okay, so we've gone through all the local microbreweries. Well, let's see how others rank them. I averaged ratings based on Yelp, Rate Beer, Brewery Stars, and Beer Advocate websites. Note that in some cases, not all breweries were rated. So here are the results. It's interesting. Well, you have to remember also that these ratings are based on popularity. For instance, the vast majority of craft beer consumers are IPA fans or hopheads. So a place like Yorkshire Square, which specializes in British cask ale, is not really going to do well. Whereas Monkish, where Henry has become the guru of hazy IPAs, will obviously do better. Not sure why Redcar gets hammered so, because they're the OG. Perhaps because Bob doesn't change up his styles as much as the others? Or it's a real restaurant? I don't know. How would I rank them? You'll have to wait to the end of the video. And before that, let's head to the graveyard of Torrance microbreweries. 2023 was not a good year for microbreweries in general. There's a larger trend of flagging sales and closures nationwide, and Torrance reflects this. Sales of beer declined by over 5% in 2023. In video 1 of the series, I hit on some of the factors, such as cost of materials, cost of labor, competition, COVID, etc. But let's look at Torrance specifically. Starting with the Strand. First opened in 2009 in South Torrance, near the Torrance Memorial Hospital. If Redcar was the first gastropub, then Strand was the first dedicated production brewery in Torrance. Strand was started by Rich Marcello and Joel Elliott. And after finding success on Tilo Avenue, they also discovered the limitations of that space as the craft beer scene expanded and blown up. The Tilo Avenue location could accommodate about 35 people. It was tiny. Now, popularity of craft beer increased and more competitors entered the market. They responded to the increased competition for the craft beer consumers by pivoting their business strategy at the end of 2015. They moved up to a vast beer-like hall, 35,000 square foot warehouse in Old Torrance just across from the Honda campus. This was also near the other craft breweries in North Torrance, the so-called Brew-Muta Triangle. The new location was huge and could easily accommodate about 200 people or more, and had increased brewing capacity. Now, the idea was that it was mainly built as a production facility with an eye towards mass production and mass distribution. Bad timing.
You chose poorly.
Joel himself lamented, "That's an extremely difficult game to play, particularly in Los Angeles, while COVID was happening." Unfortunately, even Lucky couldn't save it, and the Strand closed in 2023. Also in the same Bermuda Triangle of Northeast Torrance was the Dudes Brewery. Started by, ironically, Strand Brewing Company's original head brewer Jeff Parker, with the financial and business backing of Toby Holmes, I hope I said his name right, and Mike Hallwake. They tried to create a laid-back and fun atmosphere, dude, that reflects SoCal's beach lifestyle. So, Dude's business model included tasting rooms in other cities, as well as a fully automatic brewing and canning system. But, as their IG post said, they were killed by COVID. So I know you're dying to know how I rate the microbreweries of Torrance. Well, my tastes don't coincide with IPAs. Sure, they're fine, but Belgium is my home of beer, followed in no particular order by Germany and Britain. So, given that, my ranking would be... Oh man, this is hard. I've gone back and forth and changed my mind multiple times. Some of the things to consider, the beer, duh, but the ambiance. If there's food, if there's parking, the customers, the staff. I mean, All these places are good and all have their patrons. Scholb, or Schlab, as I always want to call it, sorry, its Wisconsin DNA shines through. The patrons are large, Midwestern-looking folks. But they have a game room, which is cool. They have a large outdoor and friendly seating area that kind of looks Midwestern. The staff are universally nice and they're interesting folks and they're great to chat to. The beer is fine and they offer hard seltzers for the younger crowd. Absolution, it's a smaller area, it's darker. They got great merch though. They're an LA Galaxy associated bar, so if you're into that, that's awesome. But it's more of a flat brim bro bar. The beer is fine, and they also offer hard seltzers for the younger crowd. It's interesting that this is one of the few locations without outdoor seating. Hermosa, when I was there, a herd of corporate types from a Honda headquarters came in, so I don't know what the usual demo is, but the beer is fine. They also have a game room. Parking in that area is non-existent, so that's kind of a pain. Monkish, the home of hipsters and IPA hopheads. The seating is fine, the ambiance is fine, the parking is a little weird, but the abandonment of Belgian-style beers still stings. Smog City, better beers than usual, strong selection, good friendly staff, they've got a cat on hand. This appears to be the destination for serious beer connoisseurs, and parking is also bad. Yorkshire Square, home of Cask Ale, an island of the style of beer in a sea of IPAs. Hidden and cozy, I quite like it. Pity they abandoned the whole English theme for the food menu, and no jokes about English food. I hope it survives, just because it dares to be different. Hop Saint, off alone in the west of Torrance, this is really a gastropub or a restaurant that also brews beer. They have great barbecue, they have uncomfortable booths, beer is fine, they've won some awards, nice enough people. If you're off on that side of town, definitely try it. Red Car, the OG, we all owe some debt of gratitude to Bob and Red Car. It's a gastropub like Hop Saint, so it's hard really to directly compare. They have great food. It's much more sophisticated than the usual warehouse brewery. This is a place to take a date or your wife and not be embarrassed. Great selection of food, great staff, good beer. They have their own parking lot. I'm a big fan. So here it is, the tier ranking. Do you agree? No? Well, you're wrong. And tell me why in the comments. And there you have it, the final installment of the Torrance tastings. Did I miss any? Have you been to any of these microbreweries, and what's your favorite? And by the way, I'm pretty sure there is a microbrewery near you. Please visit one. Try some of their beers. If you've been watching this far, I thank you.
Bye.